Hello, Taku Fujoshi and the Anime Curious. My name is Random Sama 613, and welcome back to the Anime Association. It's been a hot minute since we recorded last. I'm here with only two of my fellow members this week. I have Lou Talks Anime,
Yo, what's up, everybody? Lou from Lou Talks Anime.
and I have Jack from Under the Scope Reviews.
Hello, Jack from UTS Reviews.
So this week we decided to kind of get together. It's been kind of a hot minute since we recorded last. We want to talk about a few things. We're not necessarily going to talk about the new season this time around. We may do that in a future episode, or we may just forgo it entirely. We want to talk about some of the more hot topics at this time, namely being Your Name, or Kimi no Nawa, because it was in U.S. theaters this weekend. So we figured we'd talk about that because we all did see it. I think we all saw it. Did we all see a dub or sub?
I saw it
I watched
sub.
it sub.
Oh, am I the only one who watched the dub?
I
Yes,
guess so,
okay.
yeah.
Apparently.
All
And it's
right,
funny,
I can
too,
talk
because
about that.
I didn't actually know which one I was watching when I went in. So it wasn't until, the movie actually started playing that I found out.
Okay, yeah. For me, ArcLight listed them separately on their website, so I got to choose which one.
Okay, yeah. I didn't really care either way.
I bought my tickets through Fandango, and it listed both showings it specified which was subbed and which was the dubbed showing. But when I got to the theater itself, on the show times, it just had them all mixed together.
Yeah.
So, I was able to watch the subtitle version, which I specifically wanted to watch the sub version because I was not a fan of the dub trailer. It's just something about the audio seemed off, so I just gravitated away from the dub. I don't know.
I'll probably watch the sub when it's released on home video, or if I have a chance, I'll go see it again. But I don't regret seeing it in dub. I thought the dub was pretty good.
I'm way more used to watching anime in sub, so I guess that was probably just more comfortable for me anyway.
I mean, if I was to, I plan on buying this. I did enjoy it, so
100%,
I just want to go ahead and throw it out there.
Yeah,
I
let's get
think
that
it
out
was
there.
a great movie. I want to own it. I think the next time I watch it, I do want to watch the dub, just so I can properly assess that versus the sub. And I don't think I'm gonna have the problem that I have when I'm watching anime, like series, made for TV anime, where you develop a connection with the characters and the voices for those characters because you spend so much time with them.
Mm-hmm.
This was a little over an hour and a half worth of film.
Yeah, and it's,
I didn't really bond strongly to those characters.
yeah, it's a different experience I find for film versus TV anime. TV anime tends to get, every week you get used to the same people. You're right, and then with a movie, I've watched the same movie in dub and sub and gotten fairly similar experiences most of the time. So, because you just don't build that rapport with the characters in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to hear, though, since you saw the dub, how did they handle the music? Those juicy Radwimps songs.
I don't think they changed anything. I think because were the lyrics in English in the sub or not?
No, they were in Japanese.
Okay, well they were covered, and I thought they were pretty good.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't have a reference point because I haven't heard the Japanese versions, so I have no idea which one would be better. But I thought that they did a pretty good job covering them.
Yeah, and I think, that's the biggest thing to me that would, change the experience, not the dub versus some of the actual voice actors, but the music itself. Because, the music was such, an integral part of the film during those montage sequences and everything that, depending on what language you hear the music in, that could potentially provide a slightly different experience,
Yeah, exactly. I totally see where you're coming from on that, and I find the same thing to be. I agree, basically. That's where I'm going with this. So I agree with you.
I think overall we all love the film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus amongst us three is that it was an amazing film, and it wasn't. It felt like it was going to be overhyped. I think Jack and I were talking about this a little earlier, that we were both kind of afraid that we got all the hype, and then we were going to go in and not like it.
Yeah,
I was 100% prepared for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
same here.
I think that's part of why I've taken this new inventive approach of not knowing what the fuck I'm watching or getting myself into for seasonal anime. I just don't I don't do any research ahead of time anymore. I want to be surprised. because I want to minimize hype as much as possible. Because I feel like by like minimizing that hype train, like you don't have any preconceptions.
Right.
So without those preconceptions, it's easier to enjoy things.
And I can only speak for myself, but I know that like
syndrome.
that sort of thing can definitely easily influence me sometimes. How much hype a show or movie is getting going in. But no, I was pleasantly surprised that wasn't the case here. Like, this film has been seeing almost universal acclaim. Like, it's rare to see something get that much acclaim from nearly every avenue that I've seen cover it.
I mean, we're looking at like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes critically, which is almost unheard of for an anime film in the West.
The only
Miyazaki.
Yeah, exactly. The only negative review I saw from a Western media outlet was, I think it was the Boston Globe. And, I mean, it wasn't, like, very negative. Like, they said that it was a beautiful film and that they enjoyed it, but that their biggest complaint was that it was too complicated and that they couldn't follow the story. And I was like...
It wasn't complicated
I know, right?
It was
like,
maybe the simplest...
I think that's your problem.
Yeah, I think it was one of those... It's the simplest story of all. It's boy meets girl through some means and then wants to meet girl again.
Yeah, I mean, like...
I think, if anything, if I had to guess, they probably got hung up on the switching back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And the... Well, are we gonna spoil this? Just for listeners, are we actually gonna go a little deeper?
I mean, here's what we can do.
You know what? Let's
keep like these first like few minutes non-spoilery, and then maybe have like a 10, 15
I'm not going to spoil it heavily.
Spoilers.
I don't want to get too
I mean, like
deep.
the basic premise of like the body switching. I think that is fair game.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because I was going to go a little deeper than that. I just wanted to see where we're going to go with this.
Like, I actually went into the film without knowing anything about it.
Yeah, same here.
I avoided all the information.
I knew like really, really basic premise.
Right. The only thing I knew was the body swapping gimmick. Yeah. And I mean, I was like, especially since I didn't see it till today, and so like on Twitter and everything, like my entire feed was just filled with everyone here in the States seeing it on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I can't believe that I managed to avoid any spoilers. Like even during the film, like when like some of the bigger twists happened, I was like, I don't know how I avoided hearing about this.
Twitter's been pretty good about not spoiling the film, I've noticed. I haven't seen any like super blatant spoilers, which is
I think
really
people
nice.
enjoyed it so much so that they don't want to ruin the experience for others.
Exactly.
Which I think that speaks to the level of quality of the film.
Absolutely. It's one of those films that going in blind made it all the more enjoyable for me. Mm-hmm. Even though you can tell how it's going to end from very early in the film, but even so, it's perfectly executed, I'd say, or pretty close.
Would you say this is Shinkai's best looking film?
Best looking film?
Yeah.
I've watched
because honestly, I would have to give the edge to Garden of Words.
I haven't watched Garden of Words. The only Shinkai I think I've seen is Voices of a Distant Star, which is only available in 360p, so there's not really a contest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen Garden of Words 5 centimeters per second. And I haven't seen Voices of a Distant Star.
I think Crunchyroll has it. It's like 20 minutes, so it's worth watching.
That being said, it has been like years since I've seen some of those, so I'm trying to. It's hard since I just saw this one today. It's hard for me to like put the two together in my mind, visually at least. But no, that's a fair debate. Because Garden of Words was gorgeous.
Like, Garden of Words, because there wasn't a lot of complexity in its visuals, I feel like it looks more polished from if you're looking frame to frame. But if you're actually looking at the actual animation quality, so the actual movement of the characters or objects on screen, then I would give the edge to Your Name.
Yeah, Your Name had some really strong character animation and character acting throughout, and I enjoyed the models and just seeing them in motion.
They almost looked human. I'm gonna say moderately because they all moved differently. They didn't move in the same manner. So
Right. Yeah.
So I think we're all familiar with the comparisons that people have made of comparing Shinkai to Miyazaki, and how that's something that Shinkai doesn't want. Nobody really.
I wouldn't compare.
I don't think he wants to be put in that box. But I think the fair comparison would be Shinkai to Hosoda.
Yeah, it's a little because they're more contemporaries than Miyazaki and Shinkai would be. I'd argue.
And I feel like they have similar, at least philosophies in terms of visual presentation, as opposed to Miyazaki, which is kind of sickened by the idea of animating on twos. I don't know. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, it's. Oh, go ahead, Jack.
I was just gonna say that I think that Your Name is. I feel like Shinkai's almost like matured with his style. Like I definitely think that this is the best output he's given in his aesthetic, and more so even just the way he crafts stories. Yeah, I feel like some of the problems I felt that hampered Garden of Words and 5 centimeters per second, narrative-wise, are absent in Your Name, and it's a much stronger film in his style because of it.
Yeah, I think Voices of a Distant Star was his first work, and while I see a lot of similarities in the way that he composes the story and the way that the story has moved along, I definitely think that this is a far more cohesive narrative than Voices of a Distant Star. Which, to be fair, I'm comparing a 20-minute OVA to an hour-and-a-half movie. So
right.
You can only develop so much, but I feel like it worked better, and I feel like he has matured as a director and a filmmaker.
Hopefully his next project isn't too much of a drop-off, because I think the biggest challenge he's going to face now is not producing a great film, but
producing a film that is on par with his previous work.
Right. And
exactly.
I don't know how he can surpass this. And I'm not saying that this is the perfect film.
No, not at all.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know how he can make his style any better. Basically, is what I'm getting at.
I mean, hasn't that argument been made kind of with Miyazaki in certain aspects?
True.
I mean, I think I'm trying to figure out which film. I mean, if you ask everybody what's your favorite Miyazaki film, you're going to get a different answer from everybody. Like mine's Princess Mononoke, and I don't think that anything since Princess Mononoke has really given me the same sense of wonder. But I think that The Wind Rises was a better film overall, even though I love Princess Mononoke and it's still my favorite. So it's one of those. It's not necessarily that he has to outdo himself, it's that he has to make another film that will be good and that can be talked about in context within the rest of his films.
I think you're setting yourself up for failure if with every project you take on, you're completely focused on outdoing your previous one.
Exactly.
I don't think that's the right mindset to attack it. But yeah, no, it will be very interesting to see where he goes from here. As for the comparison with Hosoda, have you guys seen The Boy and the Beast?
Not yet. It's on my shelf.
Because I haven't seen it either.
On my shelf, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, yeah. Because since seeing as how that's his most recent film, because I haven't seen it either, so I was wondering. We
can talk about Summer Wars, I suppose.
How that happened.
We can talk about Summer Wars. We can talk about.
I mean, which of his films is your guys' favorite?
That I've seen. I think I've only seen Summer Wars, and I really did. I enjoyed it a lot.
I've seen the three before.
Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Wolf Children, and Summer Wars.
That's right. Girl Who Leapt Through Time is his too, and that's probably a better film than Summer Wars.
I might give the edge to Girl Who Leapt Through Time, which really it feels like a pretty fair comparison with Your Name.
Yeah, those two are. You could argue that they're kind of the same story within a certain. I mean, the general idea.
Yeah, certainly they have similar facets to their premise.
Exactly.
But I'm interested to if you guys want to get into like more specifics with the film. And I guess if anyone watching like
section.
if anyone watching totally wants to avoid everything whatsoever about the film before you see it, which I think we all strongly recommend.
Yeah, seriously, go in blind. It's a far better experience.
Do not listen to us spoil the whole thing for you, please.
Whoever the editor is,
there's going to be a timestamp on.
Yeah, I'll put like a giant spoiler warning up. Whoever ends up editing will put a giant spoiler warning here, and a timestamp for afterwards. Like it'll probably just be like we'll put it like a nice convenient box somewhere in the middle of your screen that says "click here to skip spoiler stuff."
We'll make it easy on you.
Yeah, exactly.
But because it's sort of hard. It's sort of hard to really dive into talking about the film tiptoeing
without
around
spoiling
all the,
it.
Details
because
exactly.
Talking about the film requires that you talk about the plot, which will be spoiled easily. Okay, so we're into spoiler territory. Where do we want to start?
How about the fact that the meteor splitting and like blowing up the whole town just floored me.
Yeah, that was...
I didn't see that coming at all.
And
I probably should have, maybe, but...
Yeah, that followed by the realization that this had happened 3 years ago, and he was basically time jumping when he was switching bodies with her, was... It blew my mind, because I wasn't expecting that at all.
Oh, and from that point on, I was, like, totally into the story from there.
And that's, what, half an hour in, maybe? It's
not
like very
that,
deep.
yeah.
It's got to be further than that.
It's
probably
not
like
very deep in the film.
I would say it's probably like 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, maybe halfway through. Maybe. But it's...
I think I completely lost all semblance of time.
Yeah, it's
I think that's when...
it's an hour and a half that feels like an eternity overall, and it's a pleasant eternity.
Yeah, I think it's at that point, like once we get that big reveal, that I became really emotionally invested in the story.
Exactly.
Because the whole concept of like, oh yeah, they're switching bodies. Well, why don't they just meet? Why don't they make an effort to meet?
Well, you find out that they do, but it's 3 years.
They had. That,
well, it's 3 years in the past for him and the present for her.
Yep.
So
yeah.
My favorite twist in the entire film was the fact that she did go back and meet him on the train, and that was like a scene that they showed at the very beginning too.
Mm-hmm. And just like it caught me emotionally off guard. It was exactly.
For sure. And I think Taki in particular, neither of these characters like are particularly fleshed out in terms of who they are and like what drives them. I would say that Mitsuha's more developed than Taki. But I still found myself so emotionally invested in both of them by the end of the film. It was just incredible how it was executed, and especially in those earlier moments to get you feeling for these characters so that when that big shock happens about halfway through, you're pretty much strapped in for the ride at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I think they're both developed fairly well because you get a feel for what Taki, what interests him, what drives him, what makes him want to do things, and you also get a feel for Mitsuha as well, which exactly it helps you be more invested in the characters because you kind of understand them some.
I think development is presented through the initial switch, and beyond the initial switch, there isn't much of an emphasis on that. It's more of these characters that we've been introduced to adapting to this strange situation.
Yes.
Because they didn't really have time to go further with characterization, and I'll agree with Jack in that Mitsuha, I feel, got more characters, or there were more aspects to her character.
Yes.
In other words, the fact that she was a shrine maiden, and the how that ritual played in, and the fact that she was a shrine maiden, how that played into the whole body swapping, time traveling narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And how she longed for, and like how she specifically longed to be in Tokyo and be away from her, rural setting, small town.
To me, it felt like Taki almost longed to not be in the big city as much. I know that this is more something that I interpreted from the way that he did his architecture, and the
Right.
part where he was job hunting, where it was kind of he's trying to bring countryside like aesthetics essentially to the city in some small way.
Yeah, I mean, he was clearly drawn to landscapes and the beautiful scenery out in the countryside. So, like, it's not as explicitly stated as with Mitsuha. I mean, at one point, I'm pretty sure she yells at the top of her lungs that she wants to be a boy in Tokyo in her next life. But,
Which was quite amusing.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. But with Taki, it's like we said, it's more so implied, but you definitely get that sense that he's really drawn to that countryside atmosphere.
The other twist that really got me, that I really liked, was how the grandmother was like, "Oh, you're not Mitsuha."
Yeah,
which is
how she got it, and even said that she had gone through a similar experience. And they didn't harp on that, like that didn't become its whole entire subplot.
Yeah, it was kind of just an offhand thing, like, "Oh yeah, this just happens. Just our family just does this.
Well,
it's the thing that happens."
They also kind of mentioned the fact that the lake that was in that town was generated by a meteor, so this whole thing had happened before.
Right.
So
Yeah,
this is like a
repeating
defensive
itself.
mechanism to save the town from impending doom.
Exactly. One thing I liked at the beginning of the film was how they sort of just jump right into it, Like,
Yeah,
we
they
don't
don't-
get 20 minutes wasting to introduce us to these characters, and then, like, oh, some big event happens and the body swap happens. But no, the very first scene was Taki waking up in Mitsuha's body. And then, like, the scene later, it cut back to Mitsuha back in her own body a day later, and all the characters... There was a lot of dramatic irony in that all the characters were like, what the hell were you doing yesterday? And, obviously she was completely out of the loop. And just that, like, back and forth on both sides in both parts of their lives, I think was handled really well. And that they didn't sort of, like, get bogged down in, like, the nitty-gritty and details of, like, how this all happened. They just sort of dove right in.
Yeah, they just basically said, "This is how it is. It's just happening, and just go with it, and don't try and figure out why. For now, we'll get there maybe."
Exactly. And because we didn't really need to,
Yeah, it wasn't important for the story at the time, and arguably wasn't really ever important for the story, other than to kind of bring in that time is non-linear essentially.
Right, yeah. How about that sequence where Taki is, like, in that underworld section, and he's, like, seeing, like, flashbacks and points of, like, all of Mitsuha's life. I just want to
after
comment
he
that,
drinks the sake?
Yes, yeah. I just want to comment, oh my gosh, the animation there was gorgeous.
great.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the art style that they opted for in
That was
those
like
flashbacks.
That was like
sequences.
that was like a minute or two. It was very short.
Right. And I mean, that might have been, as gorgeous as the film is, that might have been my favorite animated sequence of the film.
I can see that.
Well, I mean, for me, it's either that or the meteor hitting.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
both
yeah,
pretty
definitely,
striking.
definitely.
And the way that it breaks up and the way they do the comet's tail.
No, I mean, it's like, that is wallpapers abound. I could have so many posters on my wall from this movie. Another thing that I really liked, all the montages, the basically AMVs
Yeah,
throughout the
yeah.
film.
Yeah.
Which is how they decided to just kind of move time along so that they could use an hour and a half efficiently, as opposed to draw it out to 2 hours and have more actual specific stuff, which I liked.
Right.
I liked the way that they truncated some of the not necessarily as important sections.
Exactly. The one in particular that stuck out in my mind was the one where they're just sort of flipping through, like, weeks of them in different bodies, that montage. That one in particular, like, just like some of, like, the visual techniques that they used were just really worked extremely well, and it was a very fun 3 or 4 minutes, however long it was. And like you said, a great way to advance the story while still giving you a lot of information.
As long as it doesn't become a thing that's overly common in anime, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah, that is the danger. Is that
I mean,
everyone
yeah,
will
I
then
don't
say,
want
"Oh."
I don't want everything I see to be Rad Wimp's music videos.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was good music. Although I listened to it in English, so I don't know. I don't have a reference point for the Japanese soundtrack.
I liked it. but
Yeah, I liked
I don't
it
know
too.
what my opinion means.
So, and I like the English one. So, I mean, talk to me again in about nine months or so when they release it on home video, and I've watched it in sub.
I'm
sometime
very
this week.
intrigued to hear how it sounds in English. Like, that's not something that you usually see with dubs, right?
Yeah, they kind of stopped doing that after, I think it was the early 2000s. They stopped localizing the music. I mean, when I watched Wind Rises, Wind Rises doesn't have any quote unquote licensed music. So that's not a great comparison, but I don't think they changed anything between the dub and the sub, other than the voice acting track.
I can't think of a time when music was changed that, with it, past the early 2000s.
Yeah, save like 4Kids basically.
Yeah, it might be one of the few exceptions, but
I want to make it abundantly clear that I am not at all comparing them. 4Kids was pretty bad, and this was very, very good. I think it fit really well. Whoever they got to do it was very good.
So how did you guys feel about the ending? Do you think it left off in a good part?
I figured that's how they were probably going to end it, in some manner like that, where it was, yes, the day was saved, they didn't die, but Taki finding Mitsuha was going to be the challenge there, because he woke up 3 years after the fact, even though they all made it out. So he still had to find her 3 years on.
Yeah.
And he also couldn't remember, they couldn't remember each other, which was part of the narrative of it, was that they can't remember each other after
they don't remember
time has
anything.
passed.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen a little bit more buildup of tension in them, like, kind of having that final conversation of, like, oh, have we met before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little
Like,
bit more, but
just a little bit more. But, like, there's a whole buildup of they'd crossed each other's path a few times.
Yeah, they gave us a few fake outs where they
mm-hmm.
pass each other but don't
Yeah.
quite stop and recognize.
I kept thinking, are they going to leave this where they never actually find each other? Is Shinkai that much of a piece of shit? The answer is no, he's not. But I was left wondering for a little bit, like, are they going to go that route? Because I don't think there are, but they could.
Sometimes that, unhappy ending works, but I definitely don't think that would have fit this narrative.
Not at all. Not with the way that it was framed overall.
It certainly felt like it was building to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the whole the third act was building to that final shot that we get of them recognizing each other. And if they hadn't actually found each other, then it would have just completely pulled the rug out from under the whole final part of the story.
Yeah, it basically would have... I mean, the only way I could see it working a little differently is if they did it post-credits, because there's nothing post-credits. But that's a very...
Thank God.
Yeah.
I hate post-credits.
But I think maybe doing... That's the only, like, pacing it differently, is just having it be post-credits. Might have worked a little better for more payoff, but at the same time, that's kind of a cheap way to do payoff.
It's also, just dickish.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't put really meaningful stuff after your damn credits.
Yeah, exactly. It would have basically left it off as they never meet again, and then the entirety of the theater left. Like, I had 12 people in the theater total, including me, and we all knew there was nothing at the end. Well, total, period.
Okay.
In the entire showing, there were 12 people. So
I was surprised.
And my showing, which I went on Saturday, it was about 20 to 25 people.
Mm-hmm. This was
an okay sized crowd.
Yeah.
For
what time on Saturday was it? Was it at night?
No, it was a prime showing, but that movie theater is relatively small.
Okay. This was Friday night at like 10 p.m. So this is like you can't have kids if you're gonna go see it at this time, and this is like
right.
And this is enthusiast time basically.
Yeah.
Is when I went.
I saw it on a Monday at like 4:00. So I was expecting.
Right?
I was honestly expecting, thinking that I might be the only person in this theater. But I was pleasantly surprised. I guess. I mean, there was 9 people there, including myself. So considering the time of the showing, that's
pretty good. Yeah, you basically got the same kind of thing I did.
Yeah, exactly. Now I hear that it grossed over the weekend. I think I saw that it was 1.2 or
I think it's 1.6. 1.8 was
mil.
In
Resurrection
like 300 something theaters.
Yeah, Resurrection of F did 1.8 through its full run, but it also ran longer.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was lower per theater because it was in more areas. And this is in fewer areas and is grossing higher per theater.
How long is it going to run? Do you know?
I think it's only a week. I can't imagine it running it more than that.
I think they might have some showings next weekend too.
They might. I can.
I mean,
the
yeah,
magic of
we're all in
editing,
front of computers. I guess that's something we can look up.
It's kind of a shame that, like, I like the fact that Funimation got this, safe for the limited theater release.
Yeah, that's
I feel like
the biggest problem.
If someone else would have gotten it, there would have been more of a possibility for a broader release.
I think another problem was that it didn't release early enough.
Yeah, it released a lot later in its cycle than
almost a year.
Yeah, which is a problem.
And I think it released like, I can't give you specific countries, but I know it had a pretty wide release several months ago. It was either in like November or December, I think.
Something like that. It looks like the last showing for it in Los Angeles, at least, is Thursday. So it's only a week.
Okay.
It's a 1 week run, which makes sense. That's pretty standard for most anime movies that aren't Miyazaki. And Miyazaki, even then, will have usually maybe a 2 week run. It's pretty
well, and
tight.
with some of those Ghibli movies, you also had Disney
throwing their wang around.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So the marketing there also helped. But yeah, no, I think that it did reasonably well given how long it's been since it actually premiered, and the fact that there are some like shitty rips that you can.
I think the best online. Rip. I did look. The best rip you can find, I think, is like a 720p rip right now. But I don't know how good of a rip we're talking because I didn't download it, so I couldn't tell you.
I mean, first off,
it's probably 720p is too low for this movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, like not even mentioning the obvious point that fuck pirating. You were doing yourself a total disservice by not watching this movie in full 1080p, and especially in a theater. Yep.
I watched it on a curved theater screen, and probably I would assume 1440. It's stunning. It's not the kind of movie you can watch a shitty camcorder rip of. You're just not going to get the same experience.
That's sacrilegious. I mean, that's just
no. Also, enjoying that soundtrack on theater speakers.
Yep.
Oh,
like that. Beautiful. That cannot be replicated.
No. I'm absolutely thrilled that I was able to watch this one in theaters.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and there are plenty of other films that I'd love to have the same experience with, like Koe no Katachi. I'd love to watch that one in theaters.
That's what I was going to bring up. That's the one that everyone's saying is a better film than this, but the problem is I don't know that it's even going to hit theaters here in the States.
Not in the U.S. Pretty much everywhere else. Everywhere else of note.
I guess we'll see.
Probably because nobody picked up the license for it.
Nope. I don't know. The fact that they used My Generation in it, that might have.
Oh yeah.
The song. I mean, they could have had some hang-ups.
Problems. Yeah, I'll do it. Well, that sucks, but I know what movie I'm going to watch when that comes out and gets licensed eventually here.
Oh, I know. I want to see that movie so bad. You don't even know. Favorite director, favorite studio. Gosh.
There's a lot of movies that are coming up that I hope get theatrical releases that I'm almost certain will not. Like the Blame movie, I really want that to get a theatrical release, and I doubt it will.
Yeah. No, it's... I wanted to see the Kizu movies, but unfortunately, I haven't caught up on Monogatari to be able to.
Well, the thing is, those are prequels, so technically speaking, you can watch them whenever. But the other problem is that those were extremely limited releases for me. Like I had a weekend, I could have watched any of them, and I didn't have a chance to.
Same.
Yeah, same.
And those don't have.
I own the first Kizu movie. The second and third one are still circulating, I think. I know the second one recently ended. I know the third one they're already planning on doing the theater run for it. but they haven't set the Blu-ray for the second one yet for sale.
Yeah.
So
I know
waiting for that to get
the third part
released.
had their showings in Atlanta this past weekend. So yeah, unfortunately, I've missed all three. So at this point, I'm just waiting to buy them.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that kind of segues into crossover appeal for this movie. And does it appeal to a wider audience than just us enthusiasts?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, my friend who I was with that doesn't watch any anime really loved it. So there's one positive opinion.
Yeah, like I saw a question floating around on Anime Suggest of, is this would my parents be able to watch this movie? And my answer would have been, well, it depends upon your parents. I know my mother would love it, but my mother is a non-standard person who likes watching anime, so it's...
Yeah, my dad also watches anime, and he would love the film.
It's one of those, could you haul along your weird aunt who doesn't particularly like anime, and would she enjoy the film?
Yeah, like my sister, she watches, like... She's seen a few things, like she's seen like Full Metal Alchemist and Death Note and things like that.
Yeah, the usual Western stuff.
Yeah, and of course a lot of the Ghibli movies, you know. But I mean, given how much I know she loves some of those Ghibli movies, this is definitely what I'm going to show her.
Yeah, I definitely.
I could probably even show this one to my mom too. Yeah.
And it's one of those, if you're going to if you're an average person, you're not us. You're going to the movies, and you have the choice between whatever's out this weekend, I have no idea, and Your Name. Are you going to choose Your Name over like a typical Hollywood film? Probably not.
Like what, Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to go. Yeah, bring up was Ghost in the Shell, which I haven't watched and I have no intention of watching.
Me neither.
But it's one of those, which of the two...
Fuck that movie, I'm not watching it.
It's one of those, which of the two would the average American consumer probably watch? And the answer is going to be the Ghost in the Shell live action, more than likely.
Yep.
Even though Your Name is a better film.
But what if Your Name had the marketing here that Ghost in the Shell had?
That's the thing.
I mean,
I still think people would, like, even if it had Ghost in the Shell marketing, the fact that it is an animated film.
That's the thing.
That's not DreamWorks or Pixar.
We have it's just a cartoon.
I agree. But what if, that's because, this was just one film. What if they did that a second time and a third time? And I think eventually it would start to add up. Like, the more times that you have wide releases with these animated films and give them full marketing like you would some of these others, I feel like eventually it would start to move the needle in one direction.
It's just one of those...
It's not something that can be done overnight,
Yeah, and it's one of those, who's going to throw the $5 million at marketing that's going to take.
Exactly, because for the first time you do it, you're probably going to be a losing investment.
Yeah, they have to have a major studio backer to do it, because Funimation doesn't have $5 million to throw around. Crunchyroll sure as hell doesn't.
No.
We could see it actually from Amazon, which... That segues us into another section if we want to move on, because it's been about 40 minutes.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Well, final impressions. Everyone loved it. We're all in agreement.
Yep,
go see it.
Fucking great.
Yeah, do whatever you can. You got what, 3 more days to go find a theater.
Exactly. As of recording, so by the time this gets out, probably you don't have more time to go see it. Which, if you haven't seen it, shame on you. It's well worth seeing.
You missed it.
Don't pirate
missed your
it.
chance.
Yeah, don't pirate it. It's not going to do it any service. It's well worth watching.
It's going to get a good home release, I'm sure. So just wait a little longer. It'll be worth it to see it in the
Funimation will
glorious
definitely
HD.
release it. So I mentioned Amazon earlier, and we should probably talk about them in context of the newest season, also and also their anime channel, Anime Strike. I think really the only I hesitate to call it a controversy, because it's not really, I suppose. But the way that they're doing Anime Strike with Amazon Prime is that you have to have Prime, and then you also have to pay $5 a month for Anime Strike. And they also happen to snap up a good chunk of anime this season. I think they picked up 6 shows, or was it 8 shows exclusively?
They got a good number, yeah.
They picked up a lot.
I think it was like 6 shows for sure.
And it was a lot of shows that people were looking forward to as well, on top of that. Like the second season of Rage of Bahamut, the second season of Saikano. They picked up Recreators, which had some buzz around it, but not a whole bunch. They picked up Sagrada Reset, which looked really interesting. They picked up Anonymous Noise, which I'm not watching, but looks like it could be really good. And then they have some exclusivity on a few other things too. And we're running into a segmented market again as a result. Plus, it's probably the most expensive subscription service out there.
Exactly, because, don't let the $5 fool you. That's in addition to paying for Prime.
To the $100 a year for Prime.
Yep, it's a double paywall. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
now, coming from someone that has had Prime for several years now and has no intention of ever getting rid of it, because I'm constantly ordering things off of Amazon.
Yeah, as am I. As disclosure.
I really don't feel the double paywall, but I do see it as a huge barrier for entry for people that aren't subscribed to that to Amazon Prime service.
Yeah, and I mean the other problem is that Anime Strike's only available in the U.S.
Yeah, that's the other thing is it's U.S. exclusive, so
there's no international branch here. Yeah,
and I think it does tie up licensing for a lot of North American territories like Canada. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. I'm not an expert on how streaming rights go, but I think it does tie some stuff up that way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
So it's kind of shitty. I kind of wish that Anime Strike was rolled in with my normal Amazon Prime, but
kind of like how Amazon Video used to have its own anime channel.
Yeah, exactly.
That
and
was
now
included with Prime.
And now it's all segmented to Anime Strike, I believe. Again, I'd have to.
I mean, there's two things they can do. They can either just include it with Prime or make it a separate, or make it separate in the sense that you don't have to have Prime, that you can just pay the $5.
Yeah, exactly.
And either one of those ways.
There's always there's also the possibility that they're considering some sort of tiered membership system where, like, let's say if you have Amazon Prime, then it's $5, and then if you don't have Prime, it's $10.
10 or 15.
Or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but that'd be out of character for Amazon, because Amazon's not looking to... I don't think they're looking to make money off of the anime service itself. They're looking to drive more Prime memberships, which is where they're going to get their money.
But that could be a strategy to incentivize Prime service.
True.
Because, like, over the course of, let's say...
If you do a year at $10, it's $120 a year. If you get it with Prime, it's $150 a year, as it currently stands.
Yeah.
So, for $30 more a year, basically you're getting all the services of Amazon Prime as well. So they'd be driving a value proposition.
Yeah, exactly. And they could be doing that with the rest of their channels as well, because it's not just Amazon Strike. They have other things that they're
they have
launching.
Like an HBO. They have a bunch of different subscription things you can do that are a la carte. So this is just in addition to what they're already doing a la carte. But it's still
like
kind
Amazon
of
Channels is like the specific name of the thing.
Yeah.
And this is just like Anime Strike by Amazon Channels.
Yeah, but like I said, it's segmenting the market, which we had this problem when Funimation and Crunchyroll were at each other's throats. And it wasn't exactly split 50-50, it was kind of a 75-25 kind of deal. But Funimation got just enough to where you had to have both for a lot of things.
Exactly, and part of the problem is you're getting people who maybe they can't afford both, or they just don't want to pay for both, and they're just choosing one, and then if something's on the other one, then they're pirating it.
Which is what I did for the longest time. I didn't have Funimation. I got a year of Funimation, not last year, year before, at Christmas, because it was like half off or something. So I picked up a year. And then, like 6 months into that, Funimation and Crunchyroll did their partnership thing. And they said, okay, Funimation's just going to do dubs, and Crunchyroll is going to get all the subtitles, which makes sense, frankly.
I think that works.
Yeah, I think that partnership has worked out well.
Well,
in some aspects,
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's worked out well, because there's another thing that we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, so this segues into that. Yeah,
perfectly. Yeah. So there's this new service for those of you that are unaware called Verve, and Verve is a joint venture between Crunchyroll and Funimation.
There are other partners in it, I believe, because there are other channels you can get, but they're two of the major players.
Nerdist is in it, I think.
Nerdist is
Rooster Teeth.
I know Rooster Teeth has a channel there as well.
I'm trying to remember what they were called. The ones that have Bee and Puppy Cat. I can't remember the name of them, but they're part of it as well. But Funimation and Crunchyroll are two of the big driving forces in it for sure.
So, the idea being that they want to create a third place where you can get all your anime and these other forms of content all centralized, while still having broke as shit services that they're charging you full price for.
Yeah, I think
if the tone of my voice doesn't give an indication as to how annoyed I am by the fact that I'm constantly greeted by this asinine message saying, "Hey, you should go check out this other web service."
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, and anybody can look at my Twitter at randomsalma613. Every Saturday, you can see me cursing up a storm about how shit Crunchyroll servers are, especially on the browser-based site for watching anime. I have had Saturdays where I have literally had to pirate anime to watch it because I can't. Crunchyroll's servers basically won't load. I did read the article that they posted about why that is. Makes total sense. Doesn't excuse it at all. Basically, what it is everything is on the same server for them because they have an older style of architecture as opposed to doing microservers for each system. So, like the store is on the same server as the anime, which is on the same server as their forums, which is on the same server as all their news stuff. So you're getting a full pull for everything, and that's why everything dies when you have a lot of users on it. And they are investing in fixing the infrastructure. Fine. But you're still saying that the solution right now is, hey, if it's not working on Crunchyroll, go watch it on Verve. Which is unacceptable.
Oh, and it's not free. Mind you, you still have to pay for this shit. Even though, like, let's say if you've paid already for Crunchyroll.
If you've already paid for Crunchyroll, you can actually link it to your Verve account, and there's no additional cost. So it is free.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I'll give them that. You don't have to pay twice for Crunchyroll. I'll give them that.
See, I tried doing that, and it wouldn't let me.
It did
so
let
at least
me
there's
link
not a double
minus,
paywall. Like
it depends on when you try and do it. Don't try and do it on a Saturday, because you're still going to have server problems because Crunchyroll's shitting the bed.
All right, so then then I'm slightly less annoyed because I tried linking my shit, it doesn't work, so I felt like I was being put in a position where I had to sign up and pay more money for anime when I've already, I've supported the industry.
Yeah, and
I support the industry on a regular basis.
I think we all
shit. Do. I just want to watch my damn Chinese cartoons.
And
bastards.
So basically what they're doing is they're saying, hey, use these other servers so that our servers stop sucking. The problem is that their servers still suck. And one of the big things is I think Verve is also US only. So basically what I think Miles actually tweeted it was, hey, use the Verve servers so that the CR servers are available for overseas users. Which, okay, I understand that. That makes some sense, some kind of logical sense. But you're still trying to divert us away from your shit-ass servers, basically. And you're trying to smoke screen the fact that your servers are horrifically out of date. And that's inexcusable, considering that we've all been giving you money for quite some time.
I mean, yeah, it's 2017. It's time to make some updates here.
Like, no, it took me an hour and a half for me to give them $60 of my money on a Saturday so that I could watch simulcasts, and then the site wouldn't work on top of that.
Ugh.
So,
yeah, and I know that some people have had really bad issues with lagging, and I mean, none of these issues have particularly hit me on my computer, but from just like the overwhelming outcry that I've heard at some points. There was one particular incident like a couple weeks ago that I missed, but apparently the quality of the video like just went totally to hell.
Took a dive
for everything.
Yeah, which they explained what happened,
and
with
they weren't really doing anything to fix it.
Well, they did fix it, sort of. They explained kind of why it was doing it. Basically, they used effectively they changed the codec they were using, and they used the wrong preset, and it fucked everything up. They are re-encoding their entire library again, but that's not. That's almost too little, too late.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some like potential problems that could arise with this whole Verve thing. I mean, like we alluded to earlier. I mean, what if they they decide to institute a double paywall, or if, like we said, if some of these shows get split between them, like they were with Funimation.
You know, you can watch this 2 hours earlier on Verve, for instance, or something like that.
Right.
I don't know.
So.
I mean, I think in the long term, Verve will be a good in all this, because it's gonna centralize, for users of Funimation and Crunchyroll. It's just gonna put everything in one place. So I can see that being convenient later on. It's just at the moment, I would rather see Crunchyroll focusing on improving their infrastructure, because the way everything is designed at the moment, they just can't bear the 1 million paid users that they have. Not to mention the several free users that are kind of just enjoying the service.
Yeah, it's just an overload on their current system.
Yeah, which is 10 years old, basically.
Right.
The architecture they have is 10 years old. I will say that streaming on like a console or on a Roku stick works for the most part. The Xbox app is pretty abysmal. The PS4 app is a lot better. And the Roku app is bare bones, but everything on the Roku is fairly bare bones, so that's not unusual. So those work.
The Crunchyroll app for the Wii U is pretty decent.
So
yeah, I haven't had any issues with it.
It's actually useful for something.
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
And on Saturdays when their servers are chugging, they tend to connect more consistently than the browser. So I'll give them that.
Yeah, the only two things I've plugged my Wii U in to do in the last like 6 months is watch Crunchyroll and play Breath of the Wild.
Totally fair.
But yeah, no, I think that like when the first episode of the first weekend of this of spring, since My Hero Academia and Attack on Titan are both airing on the same day, pretty much like at the same time on Saturday, Crunchyroll even like tweeted out that they were like, our servers are probably going to be overloaded, so if you want to watch these shows, we push you towards Verve. And it was like, and just some of the responses to that were funny. I mean, they're preemptively saying that their servers are shite and everyone's not going to be able to watch the two most hyped shows on their service.
Versus the only complaint I have for Amazon for their launch was that they were a couple hours late. That's all I can say. Because Recreators and I think it was... Yeah, Recreators and Bahamut were a couple hours late on releasing. But that's really all I can say for Amazon's launch. I realized that they were talking about two different corporations entirely. Crunchyroll's a lot smaller, but this was basically Amazon's first season of actual, like, large numbers of simulcasts, and they did really well.
They took a much bigger portion of the available shows this season than they did in either of the past two.
They went from like 1 or 2 to 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 2 seasons ago in fall they had Fune wo Amu,
which is locked behind Anime Strike now.
And then I'm trying to... What did they have last season?
Scum's Wish.
Scum's Wish, yeah, that was it.
Which is also locked behind.
Yeah, so it's just the Noitamina shows, right? So they went from just being the Noitamina shows to like a broader...
Yeah, they went a little broader. Like the ones that they have this season look mostly Noitamina as well, or at least in the same relative time slot.
Oh, they also had Blue Exorcist last season too.
Crunchyroll had that as well. So
they did.
That was. I
didn't watch it, so I wasn't sure.
I watched a few episodes and realized that it has been like multiple years since I watched the original, so I should probably rewatch that first.
Yeah, that's about where I was when it came to Blue Exorcist.
So basically, Crunchyroll, get your shit together. Pushing us to Verve is not really a great answer. And Amazon, like you're splitting.
Please change your business model.
So kind of like, yeah, like figure out that your business model is not super great for consumers.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to cut paying for it just out of spite and to strike them. But at the same time,
Hey, I see what you did there.
So you're
got
not
me.
going to anime strike them.
You
That's
got
what
me.
you're saying.
I slid that one in there. But anyway, I don't want to miss out on some of the shows that they have this season. That's the problem.
The other
Like
problem
they have
is
a couple
that
things
you're
that I'm
also-
actually looking forward to, like Bahamut and Recreators was one of the
which
few
are both really good.
new
would
shows I
to
liked.
Say. And the other problem is that if you're not supporting the Western release of them, it's less likely we're going to get more stuff, and licensing is going to be an issue as well for home video release.
Right.
So,
And if I'm not supporting the Western release, the Western streaming of it, I'm also therefore not supporting the
Original.
actual production of it.
yeah. So that here's
I have a question. I have a question. Based on Amazon's track record, do we know who's going to be picking up the physical licenses for what they've picked up? Because I know
Funiwa Amo, I think they.
Funo, I don't think anyone's picked it up for physical release, and neither has.
I guess doesn't
Stumble
surprise
Wish.
me, given its content.
Bahamut, assuming that the first season's rights holders are going to pick up the physical releases as well, Bahamut would go to Funimation and Saikano would go to Aniplex. But I don't know that that's what's going to happen, because if it was those companies that picked up the rights, then Bahamut would be on Crunchyroll, as would Saikano. So I don't know what's going to happen for physical.
I think we need to have I think we need to start looking at production committees and see who's working on what shows on a project by project basis, so we can get a better understanding of how licensing works. Because I feel like that, like the community as a whole is making or taking steps gradually towards gaining a better understanding of the industry, but pre-production I think is one area where basically everyone is lacking.
I mean,
Yeah.
we know
no
who
one
we
has
can
really stepped
ask.
into that avenue yet.
Yeah, we know who we can ask for some information, but it's not. I don't know how much they can give us. Is the thing. But I'm of course talking about Sailor B and Miles. They can probably give us some information, but I don't know how much they can actually give us.
Yeah.
I
how much
know
they're
Miles has talked
legally
about it.
allowed to give.
Yeah, I know that Miles has talked about it pretty, like a decent amount, but I don't know how much he's allowed to say.
Yep.
Do we have anything else to say? We're coming up on about an hour, so I think.
Yeah, I think we're good to wrap.
Yeah.
I think we're good to wrap. I think, to summarize, Your Name is Good. Go watch it.
Please go watch
Just
it.
don't pirate it.
Crunchyroll, get your shit together. Amazon, don't be a dick.
Amen.
Pretty much.
And with that, I have been Random Sama 613. With me today have been Lou from Lou Talks Anime.
Yeah, you can find me at Lou Talks Anime on YouTube, Twitter, and basically everywhere. So let's talk anime.
Huzzah for unified branding. And also with me today has been Jack from Under the Scope Reviews.
Yep, and you can get me on Twitter at UTS Reviews, or my channel is just Under the Scope Reviews. Either of those places, you're good.
And once again, I've been Random Sama 613. You can find me on Twitter at that name. You can find me on YouTube. Actually, the easiest way to find me is just to type in animeopinions.moe. It will redirect you to my YouTube channel. That was a worthy investment, I think. So it'll take you there straight. Eventually, there might actually be a website if I feel like getting off my butt and doing that. But in the meantime, animeopinions.moe will take you to my YouTube channel, which has about 3-year-old videos at this point. And Ram Sama 613 on Twitter. So
Wait, what is your name? Kimi no Naiwa?
Hey, and with that,
You see?
yeah, bringing it all together.
Jack,
Yeah.
you're busting out the dad jokes now.
I know.
I'm
That's
concerned.
2 in like 10 minutes.
That's my wheelhouse, man. That's
I'm in a great
that's
rate
gimmick
here.
infringement.
I gotta keep it up.
I'm gonna need to get a nickel for that.
I'm gonna dip a quarter into the dad joke jar.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Hopefully, not
Sooner
a
than
year apart.
a year. Has it been a year?
Probably not.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
a
probably 6
pre-recorded
months.
episode. 6 months since a live stream or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's not do that again. Let's get together
Yeah.
sooner.
We're gonna
Alright,
get
sounds
this
good
up
to
and
me.
running.
And until next time, guys, watch more anime.